Well, hello all, and welcome to our group time for this week. So we're going to talk today about, you know what, I need to put this down a little bit so you can see what's in front of me. We are going to talk about what's true and what's not true. We're going to play a little game where you're going to tell me and your staff if you think this is true or if you think it's not true, okay? And this is important because in life, there is one of the things we have to do is we have to figure out what's true. And sometimes we get a truth and it's just like solid. We can count on that for our whole life. And sometimes maybe it's not quite as black and white. So it's constantly something we need to know. What's true, what's not true. So while we do this, I have sitting over here a bowl with some quarters on it in it. It's hard. The light's really reflective, but there's 6 quarters in there. We're going to put a lid over that bowl with the quarters to make sure they don't go anywhere, okay? We'll come back to that later. It's not going to go anywhere. We'll come back to it later, and we'll see what we find out about it, okay? Right now, let's play, is it true or is it not true? So the first thing that I'm going to ask you is, can a paperclip float? Just a regular old paper clip. And I got a cup of water here. You can see right through it to see if it floats or if it sinks. What do you think? Is the paper clip going to float? All right, we'll find out. So I just have another paper clip here. Made this little contraption to be able to lower this paper clip into the water. Let's see. Ta-da! So it does float. Paperclip, even though it's metal, you would think maybe that's not going to float. It most certainly does. So you can see it floating right on top of that water. And that's, again, so telling the truth, figuring out what's true and not true can be tricky at times as well. Now I've got a few questions for you, or statements, and you can choose if you think the statements I'm saying are true or not true. All right, so statement number 1, there are more Lego minifigurines in this world than there is people in this world. What do you think? Is there more little mini people that are made out of Legos or more real people in this world? That statement was true. There are more Lego figures, minifigures, than there are people in this world. Okay? Next statement. Snails can only sleep up to 3 months. You ever thought about a snail's sleeping patterns before? I sure had. So, is that true or not true? Snails can only sleep up to 3 months. Seems like a really long time to me. But that statement is not true. Snails, if the environment is too dry, if it's not moist enough for them, they can sleep for up to 3 years. That is an amazing truth that I never would have guessed. Okay, another true or is it not true for you? McDonald's. A lot of you probably love McDonald's. McDonald's is on every continent except 2. So there's 7 continents. You can pause me and talk about that amongst yourselves right now if you want. Figure out what the 7 continents are and then decide, is this a true statement? McDonald's are on every continent except 2. That is a false statement. They are actually on 6 of the continents, every continent except Antarctica. You probably could have all guessed they're not on Antarctica, and they are not, but they are everywhere else. Let's see what else I've got here. When you blush, the lining of your stomach also turns red. True or not true? What do you think? When you get embarrassed, and I blush from time to time, cheeks get red. When that happens, the lining of your stomach also turns red. who's saying true and who's saying untrue, that is a true statement. It sounds like something that I or somebody else would have just made up, but it is actually a true statement. I don't know the science behind that at all, uh, but apparently it's true. And one more. Abraham Lincoln, we're all familiar with Abe, right? The 16th president of the United States, the president who was in office when slavery was abolished. Before becoming president, Abe was an elite wrestler. You think that's true? You think that's false? True or untrue? That is actually a true statement. In 300 matches, he only lost one. I never knew that about Abe Lincoln. So there's always more to learn. There's always more truths to learn in this world as well. And so one of the things that is true, and I'm going to say that it's true, I'm going to say that it's taught by major religions in the world. And so sometimes we say, well, um, you know, if you're Muslim or Christian or Jewish, there may be a lot of things that we don't agree on, but there are actually quite a few things that we do agree on. And one of those things is what's known as the Golden Rule. Have you guys heard that term before? We'll see. Okay, so let me tell you a few things here. So in Judaism, Jewish individuals do believe that, and it's stated in Leviticus of the Torah, it says, love your neighbor as yourself, for I am God. So that's what the golden rule is, right? Is to treat others as you would want to be treated yourself. And so in Jewish tradition, that is taught. In Christian tradition, uh, from Mark, Gospel of Mark in the New Testament, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than this. And so, again, we hear that, love your neighbor as yourself. Okay, so Jewish and Christian, they're actually connected in a lot of ways. What about the Muslim faith, the uh, Islam? Well, in the Quran, this statement is in the Quran. Serve Allah and join not any partners with him, and do good to parents, kinsfolk, orphans, those in need, neighbors who are near, neighbors who are strangers, the companion by your side, the wayfarer. So there's another teaching to do good for your neighbor. And then Hinduism, before I tell you about the Hinduism, let me tell you that I looked at some numbers, and there were 330 million people in the United States, roughly, and 185 million, roughly. So well over half of the people identify as religious. And in that breakdown, Christianity is 173 million, Judaism is 7.5 million, Islam is 3.5 million, and Hinduism is 1.5 million. So these are all the biggest religions in the United States and really throughout the world, and they all have this teaching. Hinduism really believes in karma, right? And so whatever I put out into the world, whatever I do to others is going to come back to me. And so in their own way, that is the depth that I know that they teach as well, of taking care of your neighbors, because it's going to come back to you if you do take care of your neighbors. So bring this into what's true and what's not true in this world. There are a lot of things that we can debate over, a lot of things that we may not agree with, but there's a pretty simple truth. All major religions teach this. Uh, any school teacher teaches this. Uh, Most adults would agree with this. It's just because it is true. to treat your neighbor, treat the people around you the same way that you would want to be treated. So what is a neighbor? I grew up thinking a neighbor was just the person that lived next to me. But in these terms, and again, that reading out of the Quran said neighbors who are near, neighbors who are strangers, those by your side, those that you haven't met yet, right? So it really is saying all people are neighbors. And so we need to keep that in mind. The people that look different than us, the people who maybe seem a lot smarter, or maybe we feel like we're smarter than them, the people that talk differently than us, the people who have come from a different country and may not know our customs. These are all our neighbors. The person who we don't like very much, that's still our neighbor. And a universal truth is to treat that person in the same way that you want to be treated. Now, there's reasons that are taught, but I'm going to also tell you that you will benefit from that. Because just think about it. If everyone is treating you the way that you want to be treated, you're probably going to feel pretty good about that, right? Granted, we know we don't always need to get our way and stuff like that, right? But the more that you treat people with kindness and respect, the more you're going to be treated with kindness and respect. But even when people don't treat you the way you want to be treated, if you're being kind and respectful to other people, regardless of their response, over time you're going to start feeling really good about yourself. And I think that's the spiritual truth in this, is that we can feel so good about ourselves if we are treating people with the kindness and respect that we want back to us. Okay. I hope you can remember that truth. I hope you can live it out in your life. We come back to our quarters. Do you think they're still here? Okay, true statement. True or false? True or untrue? There's still 6 quarters in this bowl. And again, that light shining. There you go. There you can see it. 6 quarters still in the bowl. We're going to jingle this up a little bit. Sounds like there's still a bunch of quarters in there. Okay, true statement. There's still 6 quarters in that bowl. What do you think? True or untrue? Let me show you. Do you see 6 in there? Oh, that darn glare. There it is. 3. There's only 3 quarters left in that bowl. So that was an untrue statement. There was a trick, a little magic trick involved in that. If you'd like to know it, I'll show it to you now. If you don't want to know it, then stop watching. All right? Look at that. These 3 quarters, I had some tape on the back of them. I just folded up some tape and I taped them to this bowl. And so I made sure when I was flipping the bowls that the bowl that had the taped ones on was going to be at the top when I stopped flipping them. Ta-da! They're separated. All right, so that's it. That was my last true or untrue statement of the day. I hope everyone is having an awesome day and do your absolute best to treat other people with the kindness and respect that you want to be treated with. I hope to see you soon, and goodbye.